Lewis? I'm not even sure if we're live. I actually have no idea.
I wonder if people can hear you this time, because that's been a problem the past few weeks, hasn't it?
Check. Oh, they can hear me all right.
Oh, okay.
Boom! And we're live. Can they hear you? That's the question. No? Got
Can
some
they hear
side
Lewis?
volume
What
from
hear?
Lewis. That's
What
great.
can't they hear? What? Huh? What?
They've heard it all. They've been listening to us for actually the last hour. So
That's bad news.
that inappropriate tirade you went on, Lewis, that's in the public record now. So good luck.
That's
I
great
suggest
news.
you move to a different country. You can
I'm
work
gonna
remote, right?
change my name.
Maybe grow a longer mustache, dye it black. All right, everyone. Do we have anyone here? I can't tell. Let me go ahead and send the tweet out, which I'm going to craft here on the fly.
Live tweet crafting.
Oh, boy. That's my Twitch channel name. Okay. It's a big one, though. This week, got the tweet action right here. This is the part that gets them rolling in. You got to write the "come hang out!" exclamation point, and we're ready. Boom! We got Dipsy Doo there. Johnny Jobs is in the house. That might be him. We don't know. Okay.
There we go.
Since we have almost no time, let me just make sure this is working. Should we just go ahead and just dive right into it? We can't wait for the full panel to show up here.
Might as well.
We got Sleepy Spirit. I'm back 2 weeks in a row. Whoo, baby. What time is it there in Australia? 6 a.m. Oh, my gosh. Good grief. Listening at 6 a.m. Can you imagine having to
I don't
endure?
know if I want to wake up and listen to us three as soon as I get
You
out
know
of
what,
bed.
though? If I had to wake up at
Wake
6
up and
a.m.
smell the.
and smell the Lewis. Wake up and smell the Lewis. That's what you want to do at 6 a.m. Yeah, we're still ironing out the technical details here, my friends. Little quirks here and there as we get things dialed in still. Let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. Oh, Mrs. D. Mrs. D. Oh, I like to get things dialed in. Oh, really? That doesn't sound too bad. Sensually with El Caney. Ah, of course. I should have known. Well, Mrs. D, no one wants to hear anything about that. If you don't mind, we'd love to get into this show because I got to be walking these sweet buns out the door, I think in 50 minutes. It took us so dang long to get to the actual live button this week that we're going to have to talk at 2x speed, which is probably how people want to listen to us anyway.
God, I had the coffee.
I know. You made a huge mistake. You should have had it. I'm going to go ahead and cue the
No,
music
I
up.
did. I had some.
Oh, you did?
That's the only way I can keep up.
Oh, man. I wish I had gotten some. It's too late for me, but I'm glad that you made the right choice. All right. I'm going to start the music. We'll get this thing rolling in 3, 2. Hello, and welcome to the CultCast Deep Best 30+ minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. I'm your host, Jeff Last. Join me today. He's a big believer in the power of food fasting. Wow, it's a curveball. Yes, sometimes he'll go 3, 5, or even 7 days before filling the trough in the Cult of Mac writer room. Oh, wait, I get it now. It's resulted in a 7% rise in focus and productivity, so he's fasting for them, not for himself. Okay, God. He's the managing editor of Cult of Mac. Lewis Wallace is here.
I need to take some of my own advice.
Also with us,
Like Jony Ive.
he's had to direct movers helping him relocate to bring along his collection of ancient Apple and tech devices, as they originally thought it was just a room full of garbage and were ready to scrap it all. Alas, it's stuff he wants to keep. He's a writer for Cult of Mac. Griffin Jones is here.
Well, that's why I moved all of my computers and things independently. I drove up separately, completely filled my car with computers.
That's the right move.
And drove them off separately from the moving truck.
Is that a Lisa behind you? Is that what that is?
No, I wish I had a Lisa. This is
that
a Brother WP75 word processor.
Oh wow,
from 1990.
that thing probably
You
costs
boot it
like.
up, and it's not a full computer. It's just like a word processor. You just type things, and it has a built-in dot matrix printer.
Okay, that's what you were talking about before.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so it's literally like a printer computer combined,
Yeah, yeah.
a print cuper
And the
computer.
screen
A
looks like dot
computer.
matrix too, doesn't it?
What's
Little
that, Lewis?
What's
dots.
that?
The screen looks like dot matrix too, right?
No, it's an orange CRT,
Oh man,
so
beautiful.
that's very fun. Hmm.
It's like
and it's
the-
widescreen, so you can fit like a full like 80 columns of,
Wow,
of text.
it is really wide. It looks like the like a control computer from like the movie Aliens. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like what that's how they
It's
used to like
portable.
fly the ship.
You can fold the keyboard up on top of the screen, and then it has like a big handle on the
No
bottom.
way.
And you can carry it around, and it weighs a spry 18 pounds.
How did we survive the 80s and 90s? You know?
Not very well.
It's like
I'll tell you.
people actually got work
Why
done
would
with
this-
these things.
Hmm.
It's completely mind-blowing. All right, look, we gotta rush along because unfortunately we had some more tech problems. As you know, we've switched streaming platforms. It's been nothing but a thorn in my buttocks, and it took us a little while to get going. And I have to be walking out the door here in 49 minutes. So, but we don't actually have a ton of stories this week. But we've got probably some of the biggest tech stories we've covered in years, to be honest with you. We've got Jony Ive and Sam Altman joining forces, and I think that this is like Apple 2.0, to be honest with you. Like, this is where Apple, I think, wanted to head. And there are a lot of really interesting parallels between what happened with Jony Ive and what happened with Steve Jobs when he left and came back with technology that made Apple better. And now here Jony Ive is like off doing a devices company powered by AI, which is kind of what Apple wanted to do. So we'll talk about all that. Before we do, let me give a very hearty thank you to Squarespace for supporting this episode. You've heard me talk about Squarespace for years. And yet you've been a complete and total slacker. You haven't signed up. That business that you wanted to promote is floundering. You still haven't promoted yourself to prospective employers. So you're jobless. You're living in your mom's basement. She doesn't want you there. You don't want to be there. You're ready to get your life in order. You want to start selling products and services of all kinds on the internet like I do, which is the closest thing that you can have to a US Mint in your household. You can do all that on Squarespace. And having a website is powerful. It gives you a way to promote yourself, promote your business, to showcase your talents and your skills to people who may want to hire you, which is really super important, especially if you're a student. You can do all that stuff on the Squarespace platform. They have like this this technology called Squarespace Blueprints, which is a guided system that walks you through the entire website creation process. Super easy. A ton of professionally curated layouts and styling options. You build your online presence from the ground up. It's tailored to you and your business to look uniquely yours, optimized for every device. You can get your website launched super easily, and you can do it quickly or really dive in like I did to build cultcloth.co and customize absolutely everything and make it look absolutely beautiful and fully customized. You can accept payments of all kinds, which is one of my favorite parts about Squarespace. Credit cards, PayPal, Apple Pay. And in eligible countries, you have options like buy now and pay later and afterpay, and you can sell both digital and physical products. You can build a membership website. You can have a calendar where people can pay to book your time. I mean, you name it. It just gives you, it's like a Swiss Army knife. It just gives you all the tools that you need. And for our listeners, you can get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain at squarespace.com/cultcast. Build a site, see how you like it. And at the end of your trial, you can use code CultCast to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Squarespace.com/CultCast. And the offer code at checkout is CultCast. Okay, let's dive right in. Absolutely massive story this week. Gurman was tweeted about this. I kind of joked. This is not on my bingo card. I've been diving deep into like what OpenAI is working on and just AI in general. And the more you look into it, the more you realize how revolutionary and transformative it's going to be. In fact, there's like this massive project in Texas called Stargate. It's just like an absolutely huge AI facility that's going to be filled with GPUs to power the next generation of AI, and it's being funded by this company called SoftBank, which has committed up to $500 million for the project. 500 million? 500 billion. I think it's 500 billion It is 500 billion. 500 million is nothing. I think that like the industrial designers at Apple probably get paid $500 million a year. It's $500 billion to build this GPU location to fund the next wave of AI. And you may remember from a while ago that Jony Ive, well, you knew that he started his own company called Lovefrom, which is a design company. But he also started another company called I.O., which has been really secretive. And
I was
the purpose of
actually
which...
curious about this because I know you've been paying more attention to this space than I have. Did you know about I.O. before yesterday when all this news broke?
I did, but no one knows what they've been doing. So we don't know what I.O. has been doing, but apparently it's exciting enough for OpenAI to purchase them.
I wasn't sure if that's maybe just like a ghost company that they invented like last week just to be acquired for $6 billion, just to facilitate the transaction, or
6.5. I don't know what they do, but OpenAI purchased the company from Jony Ive for $6.5 billion. That's absolutely massive. And I don't know if OpenAI is just doing it because they want to acquire the talent. I mean, Jony Ive has been slowly bringing in Apple industrial designers to his company, which is like the heart and soul of Apple, right? And Jony Ive has been focused on building AI-focused products, which I think is what makes the story so interesting, and why it sounds to me like when Jony Ive picked up and left Apple, he took the company with him. And I never thought that he would be doing anything like this or anything major after he left Apple. I mean, you know, Lovefrom was like a cool side project. Did any of us think it would turn into anything major? I don't think so. It was just the company
they got the clown nose.
That's true. They had a really cool clown nose that folded up, which I have back here. But I just figured this was going to be Jony Ive's, you know, like boat project. You know, like you retire and you work on a boat and like you finish it. That he was going to work on until he was actually done working. But I saw an interview this week with Sam Altman and talking about the work that OpenAI is doing. I've read some stuff from Jony Ive, and Jony Ive was saying that he thinks that this is going to be the most important work that he's worked on in his career. And I was like, dude, that's a pretty significant thing to say.
I mean, that's the kind of thing you have to say if you want to be acquired for $6.5 billion with 55 of your closest friends.
Sure. Maybe it's just
for
hype.
$6.5 billion, I'll be anybody's best friend and do a weird interview video where I'm being fed scripted questions and saying about how amazing everything is.
Maybe you're right, but it seemed pretty genuine to me. Mm-hmm. And does Jony Ive want or need more money? I don't know that he's motivated by that. He may be, but he's now this move has probably made him the richest that he's ever been, would be my guess. And maybe even surpassed like the wealth of Steve Jobs in like this one maneuver. And now he's going to be working with OpenAI on AI powered hardware, which is the space that Apple has been trying to move into, which is why I think that the story is so intriguing. He, in a way, out-Appled Apple. This could be Apple 2.0, and his departure is what allowed him to get to this point. I think Apple being Apple is so restricted by their own technology and their own business practices and their reputation and their brand that they're not able to take action as easily as Jony Ive could. And the parallel here is when Steve Jobs was ousted from Apple and said that it freed him to have one of the most creative periods of his life and allowed him to basically develop the technology that saved Apple. He went and he built Next, which Apple then purchased and brought back in, which I think in large part contributed to the success of Apple's future years. And I kind of wonder if that's in Jony Ive's future here, right? It's like Apple's really struggling with AI. They're really far behind as well, at least it seems. We have a story here later that indicates that maybe they're not as far behind as we think. But I wonder if an acquisition is in OpenAI's future to bring Sam Altman and Jony Ive into the company and catch Apple up and bring Ive back into the company.
Microsoft has dumped so much money into OpenAI. I don't think
that's true. I don't know much about that partnership. I don't know if it's just like a service agreement or if Microsoft has some level of ownership in OpenAI, which in that case, would indicate that that's probably not going to happen. But I still think that the departure is really interesting. There's a bunch of stuff here from Gurman who was talking about this week. I don't know that any of this is actually that interesting. And none of it communicates anything that we don't already know. Huh? I'm not even going to necessarily bother going into the details of the story. Actually, there are some interesting bits here. OpenAI's acquisition brings 55 I/O engineers into OpenAI, including several former Apple executives who worked alongside Ive on iconic products like iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch. This is all according to Bloomberg. The team will continue to work from I/O's San Francisco offices, which they have some like really beautiful offices. There's an interview on YouTube actually going through their offices if you want to check it out. Jony Ive hosts that.
Jony Ive,
he bought like a whole
Johnny
city
Ive.
block, didn't he?
What's that?
Yeah.
What's
yeah,
that?
he's bought a whole bunch of buildings with like a common courtyard, and he, every interview you see with him or every news article about it, I mean, it's all just like, oh, we just love San Francisco. San Francisco is a priceless place, and we're building something beautiful here. I mean, it sounds awesome. I wish I was working in an office down there in Jony Ive's quadrant, but it's down. What is it? It's down near the financial district, and it's kind of between the financial district and North Beach. Beautiful area, really old part of town. Really bunch of big old buildings he's bought, and it's just kind of wild. I mean, nobody has a bad thing to say about him. Everybody's like, oh, it's really great. He comes into our fly fishing shop and talks fly fishing with us now. It just sounds like he's having a great old time, man. I mean, San Francisco probably is fantastic if you got, millions and millions of dollars.
I was literally going to say the same thing. If you have unlimited money and
to be chauffeured around the streets in a Rolls Royce, then I'm sure you have a pretty rosy view of the city.
And you can completely revamp the internal of some historic building so that you can have your offices there. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and like Laureen Powell Jobs is in on this. I mean, there's a whole bunch of big people hooked up with this. It's just it's a crazy kind of thing.
Yeah, man. Well, we'll see what happens from this partnership. This picture almost doesn't even look real. Does this picture look real to you guys? Like Jony Ive's face is like lit very strangely. It almost looks like a composite image. It looks like they like photoshopped or chat GPT'd his face onto like this body. It doesn't look like they were actually standing together in this photo.
A lot of people are making jokes that it almost looks like a baby announcement or like an engagement invitation, something like that.
Hilarious.
I'm so happy for your new child, Io. Are they a boy or a girl?
Yeah, it is a weird looking picture, but yeah.
Johnny himself, it's oddly enough, there's just like last week, he did a talk, I think with Stripe, it's long interview, and man, he kind of is a fidgety, weird dude. His arms don't even move like a human being. It's strange, man.
He's British.
But have you seen it? I mean, he's like always going like this, and
that's why all those Apple videos were just shot from the shoulders up. Underneath those, in those white void, he's just gesticulating and waving his arms around.
I could tell if he's just buzzing on his new bromance or what. It's just wild. I don't remember him being like looking like that, but then as you say, like he was always pre-recorded.
The other part I want to mention from this story actually is Jony Ive apparently has some AI hardware prototype that they're going to be releasing in the next year or something.
So we actually have more news on that in the next story. Do you want to move on to that?
Well, one last thing I just want to mention real quick
was
Eddie Q's comment, completely unrelated to like this story, but in the recent past, that AI could eventually replace the need for an iPhone. And now here we are with Jony Ive partnering with like probably like the preeminent AI company in the entire earth, and he's bringing his hardware expertise and combining it with their software expertise in this space. I just think this is an extremely interesting development and an exciting one for sure. And now OpenAI is, constructing like this massive AI super center to power all of their future operations in Abilene, Texas, called Starfield. Not Starfield. Did I call it Starfield before?
Stargate.
Stargate.
I don't know. I don't know which one it is.
It's Stargate for sure. And just a lot of potential. And it kind of reminds me of when the company Bungie left Microsoft and released their game Destiny. And it was like, oh, this is what should have happened with like Halo, the previous game that they made. And for some reason, that didn't end up coming out when they were part of Microsoft, and then they left, and it's like, oh, shoot, like this is what they were working on. And I kind of wonder if we got a similar situation here where Jony Ive's been working on something that he probably couldn't have developed inside of Apple, but now that he's free to out-Apple Apple, which I think remains to be seen, but that's the part about this story which I find to be the most interesting.
I think it seems kind of hard to believe that he wouldn't have been able to do whatever he wanted at Apple.
Well, he could within the constraints of Apple.
Cheap?
No, I just think that it's the same reason that Steve Jobs couldn't create Next from within Apple. You know, like he had to leave and be unrestrained to have the creativity and the freedom that he wanted to do that next thing. I mean, when you're within a company that has business operations and a reputation and a brand, there's certain things that you just can't necessarily do because it could impact revenue, or you're busy doing all these other things. I don't know. You know, like it's restrictive. Like there's those golden handcuffs. You're making all this money and you feel like you should have the freedom to do what you want to do, but you can't for a variety of reasons. And when Jony Ive departed, he had unlimited money and complete freedom to do whatever he wanted.
A lot of why Steve Jobs succeeded at Next to the degree of being bought back by Apple is just luck of timing, because when they were developing the Macintosh, they were the hardware was so constrained to the 68K processor, and like the operating system had to be really tight under these obscene memory requirements of 128K. He left at the exact moment where it was reasonable to start building a computer architecture built entirely on Unix, like the modern operating system that scales, as well as we can today. Like the next step was built on Unix, so that like by the time the late 90s rolled around, they had a real desktop operating system that they could put on consumer level computers.
I mean, I'm sure luck plays into this, at least in some part. But, I mean, just the fact that Jony Ive and Sam Altman have even worked together at all, I think is incredibly lucky, right? Like, this partnership was grown out of this connection that they made and this relationship that they've built, and wouldn't have happened unless the right conditions had happened.
And they need a hardware designer, and they have the money to buy the best hardware designer in the world and his team of 50 people.
Yeah, but more than that, I don't know that OpenAI's strategy has been to create hardware. When you hear Sam Altman talk about what they're building, it's very software centric. Like he wants to build tools that empower people to be more productive and do their work better. Mm-hmm. And now you have Jony Ive coming from the hardware space, thinking about, okay, if we were to imbue a piece of hardware with the power and capabilities of AI, like what would that piece of hardware look like? And somehow they met.
Sam Altman doesn't have any expertise in that area, and so by bringing in Jony Ive's team, they're adding like decades of industry knowledge to their base of to their employee base.
Yeah, I just don't know that he was looking to get into the hardware business. Is my only point. So their connection is somehow serendipitous in my mind, but it's also extremely exciting. Yeah.
All the way that they talk about each other in that video is just kind of gross. I mean, it's just like what's the thing? Find somebody who looks at you like that, right?
Yeah.
Find someone who looks at you like Sam Altman looks at Jony Ive.
I mean, it was definitely
and Jony Ive
a little
kept talking about how basically comparing Altman to Steve Jobs. And how it's so great to be working with somebody.
Remember how every Steve Jobs keynote opened with a voiceover of Steve hyping up the
like
executive team and saying how they're all
between
definitely friends in real life.
I mean, this is on their website. I don't know if you happen to look at their, the Sam and Johnny website.
I watched it.
Definitely does. Jony Ive says, I wish I could do a serviceable Jony Ive accent, but I am reminded of a time 3 decades ago when I immigrated to America. As a designer, I was drawn to the exhilarating and innocent optimism of Silicon Valley, to collaborate with people, driven to create amazing products that elevate humanity. If that's not comparing Altman to Steve Jobs without literally saying he is Steve Jobs, I don't know what is.
I wonder what Tim Cook thinks this week.
Oh,
he's got to
Tim
be
Cook is-
incredibly squinty. You know, he could probably barely see.
I'll bet he's just. I mean, he probably knew this was coming, but
I don't know.
I mean, when I've left Apple, right? They had the smokescreen of like, oh, he's going to continue to collaborate with Apple, which
I think they
doesn't
honestly
seem to
thought
have
that.
happened at all, huh?
I think they honestly thought that, and then it just ended up not happening, probably for a variety
I
of
think he
reasons.
honestly did. I remember reading that he did some of the work on the Vision Pro.
Mm.
He nailed the Google eyes. I'll bet you that. I'll bet you they just did that, just as we were talking a week or two ago about how they haven't cut loose that Google guy who's been, running their AI department, but they've like basically taken Siri away from him and made all these other changes. They can't say, hey, they can't fire him, because if they do, it's gonna be like, wow, they really don't know what they're doing. And when Jony Ive leaves, they can't say like, wow, he's gone forever and now we're screwed. They just have to say like, oh, he's going to continue to, it's this giant, like, forgive, I can't think of a better word, but it's like ass covering mode, right? You're just saying, oh yeah, we're still really tight. He's going to really help us in the future. And, I mean, I mean, I don't have any idea, but it doesn't seem like he actually contributed to Apple products in any real way, right? What started happening was just like, oh, look at all these things that are reversing Apple or Jony Ive's design trends, right? Like things are getting thicker and slightly more usable.
I don't know that AI is going to replace the need for an iPhone. Eddie Q said that. I don't see that. I think that your iPhone will remain an indispensable tool and will probably become a way that you can interact with AI. I don't know that we're ever going to get rid of screens. People are very visual. And so I think there will always be a need for that. But for sure, Apple is going to need to tightly integrate with AI tools. AI is going to transform software. It already is transforming software. And I think the inflection point will be once AI becomes broadly agentic, meaning autonomous. Like once there are tools that can go do things for you. And I mentioned this before. At this point, you can use AI to like go give you an answer for something, right? But the next step, and this is already what's happening, is AI agents, where you say, instead of asking for a piece of information, you say, go do this thing for me. If this thing happens, then do another thing. And if that thing happens, then go do this other thing. And it will go and do all that stuff for you. Like you could say, hey, I want you to go and scour Zillow. Find me the houses within this state that meet these conditions. And once you've located that list, identify and call the real estate agents in that area, in those areas, and set up appointments for me to talk with them or negotiate something on my behalf. Like all of that stuff is going to be possible. Like we're probably only maybe a year away from that because that's already happening. There already are agents. In fact, if you watched Google's I.O. this week, oh my gosh, it's moving at a breakneck speed. And once we move into agentic ubiquity, it's going to be hard to know if you're even dealing with a person when you get an email, when you get a call, when you get a chat, because these agents are going to be so good. And so I think all of that stuff is going to have to be integrated into the iPhone in a way that helps you live in like this new age where all of this stuff is possible. Anyway, we should probably continue on. This is a pretty funny photo. It looks like a dad who's proud of his son for graduating high school. That's what it reminds me of. He should be wearing like one of those graduation hats. Let's talk about the mysterious prototype that might be in the loop. I'm just noticing now that my name is on this story, which I didn't see before. So I'm going to just read this.
What?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh.
New details leak about Sam Altman and Jony Ive's coming AI companions. This is a prototype or a render.
Can you believe this?
Is this you?
Lewis's name is on that story. What are you
Oh,
talking
my
about?
bad. I thought this was me.
You're hallucinating like an AI.
Yeah, thank goodness. Well, I mean, I did replace myself with AI. You guys haven't spoken to the real me in probably 6 months. No one seemed to notice. Real
The hair's
earphones
just right.
real earphones in Barbados. All right, sorry, Lewis, go for it.
So almost as soon as they made that announcement, new details start leaking out. Sam Altman, OpenAI CEO, apparently briefed employees Wednesday after the big announcement about the company's ambitious plans to produce 100 million AI companion devices that could reshape how users interact with artificial intelligence. Altman described it to employees. This is coming from the Wall Street Journal, by the way. Altman described it to employees as, quote, a chance to do the biggest thing we've ever done as a company, which I don't know. I mean, they've done some big things, but they're still kind of a small company or a newish company, right?
Yeah, for sure.
He went on to talk about it, tell people about it, and then later on this morning, TF International Securities analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, one of our favorite sources, weighed in with possible details about OpenAI's wearable device. I'm just going to read these off because I can't do it better than the man himself. He says the current prototype, and this is the one that supposedly this was mentioned by Altman in the video, like, oh, I have this device, this prototype, one of Johnny's prototypes. It's really fantastic, and flash cut to Johnny. Wry smile. Oh my God, they're so in love. Ming-Chi Kuo says the current prototype is slightly larger than the AI pen. If you remember, that's a thing from Humane that was such a bomb. With a form factor as compact and elegant as an iPod Shuffle. This is kind of weird. One of the intended use cases is wearing the device around the neck, so that'll be nice. You have a little AI necklace. Although that's probably better than something you have to pin onto your shirt. Let's see. It will have cameras and microphones for environmental detection with no display functionality. It is expected to connect to smartphones and PCs, utilizing their computing and display capabilities. Kuo says that the mass production is expected to start in 2027, a little bit later than what Sammy Boy was talking about. And of course, he points out that design specifications could change before then. This is just a side note. Assembly and shipping will occur outside China to reduce geopolitical risks, with Vietnam currently the likely assembly location.
So, my thoughts on this. After the Humane AI pen flopped, after the Rabbit R1 is basically proven to be a complete smoke show that never worked in the first place, I think the question they need to ask is, and Jony Ive even calls out these two products in that weird produced video that they randomly dropped, saying that there were early movers in this field, but they didn't get the mark quite right, something like that. So I guess the question I would ask, and I think is the natural question to ask, is, okay, so what are you going to be doing that's different? I think one of the biggest problems with the Humane AI pen is that fundamentally it was held back by the fact that they had to pitch it as a device that replaces your phone because they were not able to, integrate with the phone you already have. The iPhone doesn't let anything else integrate with it as well as the Apple Watch does. You can't even design a product that does what the Apple Watch does. If you're a third-party company, only
Right.
Apple can do that. And so the Humane AI pen was kind of nerfed from that starting point because they have to pitch it as a replacement because it can't integrate with what you already have. And secondarily, another equally bad mark against it, it can't replace your phone because it doesn't have a screen.
Yep.
And people want things with screens to look at stuff. And anything that wants you to get rid of that is immediately going to fail. So I have big questions as to, they're saying they're going to build 100 million of these things in the first year, like that. Or, as soon as they're going for, straight out of the gate, they're going to make that many of them. That's calling some serious things into question as to whether they're going to do anything markedly better than Humane. Another point I would say is it's not that the iPhone is indestructible forever. Nothing lasts forever. Something could be the next huge thing to replace the iPhone. But when Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone, he didn't stand up on stage and say, Nokia, BlackBerry, your time is up. You're a dead man walking. We're going to take over and change the entire world and Apple's going to be worth $3 trillion. And we're going to create whole new economies of businesses all around this brand new thing. All of those things did end up being true. But the thing is, Steve Jobs didn't say that.
Right.
When he introduced the iPhone, he said, we're shooting for 1% market share after a year. If you promise to change the world, you're inevitably going to disappoint everybody because the first product of anything doesn't change the world. The first iPhone did not change the world. It was like the iPhone 4 by the time that everybody started to like really buy iPhones, until the iPhone 5S that, they 2013, they started to become really common. And then around the iPhone 6 Plus, oh, you can get a big one now. Okay, everybody's going to buy an iPhone. Like that is like, 6 versions in it took for the iPhone to like become absolutely indispensable to the world. They're ordering 100 million of these things that, again, don't have a screen and can't fully integrate with your phone. I don't see what it would be then.
That's what I'm curious about as well. What is this thing going to do? We just don't know yet. And to your point, it's silly to say that you're going to build something that's going to change the world because you don't really know how people are going to react to the product. The phone integration thing I actually think is a really huge one, because if anything, Apple could copy the device and make it compatible with iPhone, and even if it wasn't as good, it would do better just because it integrates. Yeah, exactly. Just because it works with your iPhone. Like, that integration is actually really important. But I am curious to see where they go with these. Like, it reminds me of the movie Her. I don't know if you guys saw that with Joaquin Phoenix, where he has a relationship with an AI. Mm-hmm. And there's this device that he uses that everyone carries that just kind of fits in your pocket, and it has a camera that peeks up over your pocket, and it's like analyzing what it sees in real time. And I actually think that there is a real need, or maybe not a need, there would be some serious use cases for something like that. Like, if it were good enough, if this were even possible, I don't even know if it is. If you have a device in your pocket that's like listening to the conversations that you've had, that's taking video of things that are happening in your life, and then at the end of the day, like it creates a video for you of things that have happened, of conversations that you had that were important, of moments with your kids, of cool moments from your vacation, without you having to do any effort. It just does that for you. I actually think that's something that people would want to use. It's something that I would be interested in. It's almost like a dash cam for your life, like in the car, you have like your dash cam. Now, of course, the problem is, how do you do all that processing and video storage and editing and everything with such limited amount of battery power? But it does make me curious. That's like, if they say they're building these AI devices, like, what are these devices going to do for you that are so compelling that OpenAI is willing to buy your company for $6.5 billion, which I feel like is kind of a lot of money. $6.5 billion? I mean, you've never...
You don't say.
Yeah, you've never even created a product. You haven't sold a single thing. And yet they're evaluating you at $6.5 billion. Like, is it just a talent play? Do they know they want to build hardware?
He's the greatest industrial designer in the world. If you ask anybody to name a designer, he's the first name anybody would say.
And maybe the only name. Yeah. And maybe the only name that people even know. And again, it's not just him, it's him and his jolly men, right? It's like his entire team that is basically Apple's industrial design team. I mean, and just talking about it out loud, that value is immense, right? Like, how can you get the design talents of Apple? You can't buy their industrial design team and just bring it in-house. Oh, now you can. Now you can do that. You can actually just buy this company, and you're going to get Jony Ive, their leader, and all of his merry men and women to come and be your in-house design team. Like, what is that worth? Well, clearly it's worth more than $6.5 billion. How much does Apple make every year? So I just think that this, again, is a really interesting development. Even if this product ends up not being something that we all love, OpenAI is poised to, I think, become one of the most valuable companies on earth. And they're going to have money to do things with hardware. And like, what do they see as the future of AI integrated hardware? No one's really figured this out. Everyone's just building assistants. Google's going after it hard for sure. But I don't even know that they know what's going to be popular at this point. It seems like a lot of people are just throwing things at the wall. Although Google has had some, I don't know if you guys watched any part of the Google I.O. this week. Some of their AI features are totally bonkers. Really, I would say industry-changing features. Like, they built this engine. This is the one that I think everyone's talking about, and the one that I found to be the most interesting. They built this new AI video creation engine that can essentially just create movies and, well, maybe not full-length movies, but, scenes from movies with real life looking actors. It does all the Foley work and all the like the noise stuff in the background and the voices. Everything in it is AI. And you can like edit it with AI. So you could do a cut in your video and you can say, hey, instead of making the video do, for example, I'll use the example they showed. There's a guy in a car, old guy in a car, and he wants to make his car fly. So through prompting, they make it so that this old guy's driving like this convertible through the desert. It must be like near like the Grand Canyon or something. And there's a scene where he's driving the car and the car drives off a cliff. And they're like, well, we don't want that to happen. So they back it up in the timeline. And they're like, instead of having the car drive off the cliff, have the car fly. And so I forgot to mention, there's a giant chicken in the car with him. So the chicken grabs the car, and instead of the car flying off the cliff, now the chicken starts flapping its wings, and the car flies off into the sunset. Well, the part that's incredible about that, I mean, besides the fact that AI can do all this without any actual humans or anything in it, it's all just completely made up, including all the sound work and all the music and everything, and the fact that it looks completely real, is when you make AI, or when you direct AI to recreate something that you've already made, a lot of times it will remake it, but it looks totally different. And so you can't really like piece the things together or stitch them together in any real way because they just don't really connect. But this AI engine was able to completely maintain the aesthetic of the entire video and continue the scene. And that's something I've never seen before. And that's a huge development. And anyway, so Google's going to be releasing all these really cool features, but they're all behind like these, I'd say very high paywalls that most people are not going to be willing to fork over. I mean, we were only asking $5 a month. I think their Google AI Ultra plan is $250 a month. Now you do get YouTube Premium with that, so there's that. But all these crazy AI features are all locked behind paywalls, which is true of everyone. I'm using ChatGPT's Plus plan right now, which is $20 a month, which I'm like, okay, I can handle 20, but $100, $200, $300 a month, that's what's going to be happening with all these like AI companies, because these features are so compute heavy. I saw a stat that, you know, a OpenAI query uses 10 times the power of a Google query, right? And I'm not even sure that was accurate. Like I might be misremembering that, but like they're very, very resource heavy currently. So these companies are trying to figure out a way to monetize all this stuff. So if you want to use like the best AI stuff, it's all hidden behind paywalls. This is not a tangent I was planning on going on. Where are we going next?
Can we skip to our last story here? Because we're running out of show here. We have 10 minutes left.
Yeah, you're right.
I want to do this.
All right, let's do it.
Third-party developers one.
Yeah.
So, last story of the show. Apple plans to open AI models to third-party developers. This is Apple's move that they're probably going to make this year at WWDC. Apple plans to release a software development kit that will enable outside developers to build new AI features using the same large language models that power Apple Intelligence, the company's AI platform, according to Mark Gurman.
That's a selling point right there. Now you can harness the power of Apple Intelligence.
That might be the cynical first take on this, but I got something to say here.
Okay.
The initiative will initially focus on giving developers access to Apple's smaller on-device AI models rather than the more powerful cloud-based versions that require server resources. This approach represents part of Apple's broader strategy to establish itself as a leader in generative AI, a field where the company has struggled to keep pace with competitors, despite launching Apple Intelligence last year. Currently, developers have limited options for integrating Apple Intelligence into their apps. They can implement features like notification prioritization and summaries. They actually can't even really do summaries. That's just done automatically for them. So I'll skip to the point here. I think this could actually be pretty major for third-party apps. Right now, they can add a image generation button into their app, but giving developers the full access to Apple's foundation models could be huge. And also, it's worth noting, Apple Intelligence, that's garbage, whatever. At WWDC, they're probably going to announce the second wave of their Apple Foundation model. I think a big part of why Apple feels like they're behind is because they're treating Apple Intelligence the way they treat all of their software, and that it gets one major release once a year, and that's just not how the rest of the AI industry works. I'm kind of hoping that going forward, Apple will release updated versions of their foundation model, maybe 4 times a year. That sounds ridiculous compared to everybody else, because like there's a new version of ChatGPT every single week with a completely different naming system. But you know, if they update the foundation model more regularly, and there's another story in here that we're sort of merging into this one, that Apple's next version of the internal version of the foundation model that they're working on right now is actually pretty comparable to ChatGPT. Now, granted, ChatGPT is OpenAI is also probably working on something that's ahead of that, so Apple is still probably behind a little bit, but they might not be as behind as you think. And giving third-party developers access to be able to run AI tasks in their apps on device instantly, like that is going to be the thing that supercharges, because that's the thing that nobody else has easy access to right now. That is what Apple can flex as their advantage as being like one of the big platform owners in the world, one of only two. We saw Google do that with Google I/O, and they're announcing, versions of what Apple announced a year ago, except they're actually probably closer to shipping it with regards to, agentic AI control, having AI that can power and do things for you inside Google apps. But that's all they can promise right now. What Apple can do is they can say, hey, every third-party developer, you can adopt AI into your app. You can have summarization features in, you can adopt, more writing tools, features like that, anywhere you want. You can have access to the foundation model. And that would really bring, tangible AI features that you can actually use every day into the apps that you use every day.
I think that's a smart take. I think the other piece is just the privacy aspect of it, right? It's like if you can do everything on your phone and know that it's not going anywhere, I think that would be something that people would be interested in. And also, it reduces Apple's costs. Like everyone that's doing AI has to pay for like these massive data centers. I mean, I just told you about, Stargate. I mean, $500 billion to build an AI center. Now, obviously, your iPhone isn't going to compete with that, but like if you can offload all of that AI stuff to your iPhone or your iPad or your Mac or whatever and do it locally, and you don't have to do it with some kind of cloud expense attached to it, I
also
think
makes it much more attractive to developers, because they already know that all of their users have a powerful hardware in their hands to run it, and they don't have to, they don't have to figure out like any costs. They don't have to pay any API fees to a third-party company or monetize their app. Like somebody can make a free open source app that can take advantage of the Apple Foundation model just because it's already built in, and you already have, what do they call it? The part of the Apple, the chip, the ML,
the neural engine.
The neural engine.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Every phone has a neural engine,
Yeah, and there are certain applications that would be incredibly useful. Like I spent some time recently trying to take AI notes on a video that's like a video seminar I participated in, but like they gave me the video, but I didn't get the notes or anything. And so I tried it in ChatGPT, but the video was too long. It wouldn't do it for me. And so I was trying to figure out how to transcribe this video and then use it to summarize into notes. And all these AI services wanted to charge me for it. And I was trying to figure out how to do it on my local machine. You can do it. In fact, OpenAI has some open source software called Whisper that you can use. Yeah, good luck getting it installed on your machine unless you're a developer. Like I'm going through, I got to install Python and all these other like Python tools, which I'm having to use like Terminal or on Windows, like the command prompt to do it. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. The directions just presume that you are a developer and that you know how all this stuff works. And I'm like,
I bet now you wish you bought a Mac Studio with a Max chip, don't you?
Well, even doing it on the
2 gigs of memory.
To be fair, I have, the MacBook Pro M4 Max, maxed out edition. So I could do it on my Mac, but even still, my point is that I want to do this locally on my machine, but there's like no easy way to do it, right? So like Apple can make this happen in an easy way so that you can like transcribe videos and take notes in live situations or whatever without having a cost attached to it. Because like there's a ton of web services that do what I just suggested, like transcribing video and taking notes, but they all want to charge you money to do this stuff, right? And like I don't mind waiting a little while longer because my iPhone doesn't do it as quickly, as long as I can do it for free. So I think that that's going to be a huge benefit for Apple. Yeah, I've been
That's really
trying.
the story that I wanted to bring up. Additionally, Apple previously planned to introduce enhanced app intents functionality, according to the report. That would give users more precise control over app features using Siri. The company now aims to introduce this capability in iOS 19 beginning in September and continuing into 2026. So this is, Apple's version of that agentic AI, leveraging the other advantage they have, developers already building out app intents into their apps. Like these are existing APIs that have been on their platforms for years, leveraging that into the smarter Siri that can, do things for you, except for realsies this time, we swear.
Hopefully Apple, we had a story here, which we can't do because we're out of time, about Apple letting you ditch Siri for a smarter assistant. Bloomberg is reporting that to meet EU regulations, the company Apple is now allowing people to switch Siri to another agent on your phone as like the default agent, which that would be huge. I don't know. Lewis doesn't think it's going to come to the US. Maybe not. But wouldn't that be great if you could like switch from Siri to ChatGPT? I mean, that would be
something that works.
Yeah, something that works. Exactly. And not only something that works, but like, yeah, it would be it would be like going from, an infant to someone with a PhD. Like that's the difference between Siri and ChatGPT. It's really that much of a difference, right? I mean, ChatGPT's ability to answer your questions accurately and with eloquence is like really astounding. Grok the same, Perplexity the same. I mean, there's so many good tools. And then you use Siri and you're like, oh my gosh, there's nothing here. It's another goo goo gaga.
To go back to your Apple and Steve Jobs analogy, it's like you could say Siri is analogous to classic Mac OS, and ChatGPT and all these modern AI tools are the equivalent of Next Step.
Yeah,
the modern powerful Unix-based operating system.
Yeah,
and Siri, which just had to be developed 15 years ago before any of this technology was around to make it, modern and powerful.
Okay, look, I would love to continue this discussion, but I got to be walking these sweet buns out the door in 3 minutes. So we got to cue up the music. That's it. That's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. But you know what? The party continues in the very exclusive Cult Club. It's so exclusive. I think it's just Griffin in there and the people who are forking it over. They don't even let me in anymore. I got to make sure I show up. You can support the show.
Again?
Tuxedos only, Lewis. You know that. And your fez. Don't forget about your fez. You can support the show and also get access to the Cult Club at support.cultcast.com. You can also come hang out with me and Lewis. We're both on the all-new X. I'm at Airfun, ERFON. Lewis is at Lewis Wallace. And, of course, D. Griffin Jones. Just search that in your AI engine of choice if you want to find all of the secluded places that Griffin likes to hang out. This has been the CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. New episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday night. I want to thank everyone for listening and for hanging out live, and we will catch you guys next time. That's quick. I feel like I need to speed it up. Just get it over with. It's like ripping off the Band-Aid, don't you think, Lewis?
Yeah. Just anything to get it over with.
Part of me thinks I should just turn off my computer. Just hold the power button until it just shuts off. What does Cult get there?
I don't know how you shift gears from a high-powered podcast like this to a mind-numbing meeting.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's not easy.
You have to share pro tips on that.
All right, everyone. Hope you have a great weekend. If not, well, there's always next weekend. Thanks for hanging out.
Oh, jeez.
See y'all next time. Bye, y'all.
Hey, this was episode 700. Did you even mention that? 700.
Can't believe it. I'm not sure that's accurate, but could be.